Hi guys, today is the 18th of January 2019 and it is 2019 at the moment. I am looking out for the 20th of January through to the 25th of January. I'll put 23rd on my channel, but through to the 25th. Obviously, the reasons for that is because, well, one of the reasons is on the chalkboard here we have the XX and possibly the VI or the IV, which could be 24, or it could be an XX and just a V, which is 25. So I'll count both those numbers, 24, 25. We've obviously talked extensively about the numbers 21, 22, and 23. They're quite obvious and prevalent in this video, but this is the time period I'm looking out for. Obviously, the government is still shut down and likely to still be shut down coming into the 20th, 21st, which means it will be 29 days of shutdown. As I say, if it gets to 29 in 11, then that's second 9/11. If it's just 29 hours, 29 days, and any random number of hours, then you've still got 2 and 9, with that possibly being a representation of 9/11 backwards. Bearing all that in mind, there is the 20th to the 25th on the lunar calendar to watch out for as well, which runs from the 25th of January to the 30th of January. This time period I haven't looked into too much. I do know that the State of the Union is supposed to be taking place on the 29th, but there are some complications around that involving Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, and the shutdown that's currently going on. So it may or may not go ahead. If it doesn't go ahead, it could be, well, one, it could be done from the Oval Office or another location on the same day, or it could be pushed a couple of days. And my fear on that one is it could be pushed to the Super Bowl. I just have a thought in my head like that, something like that. If they can't do the announcement on the 29th, they'll do it, on the same day or even as part of the Super Bowl. That's just a side thought, so keeping that in mind. But that's two different 20th to 25th watching on the Gregorian calendar and on the lunar calendar. And then there's the 21 to 25 in February, which is February the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, up to the 5th. And I've talked about this point in time being the beginning of the new Chinese year, the year of the pig, or the new lunar year, the Chinese year of the pig, in which the zodiac dragon is released. So tying that in with IPEC Goat 2, the 5 fireworks, the Korean Peninsula, the Chinese tanks, 5 of them, 1 of them green, could be possibly, we've talked about it representing New Year before last year, but obviously this year, Year of the Dog, all that significance. Keep an eye around this time for any signs of China moving forward. Obviously, things would have to occur prior to that if that was going to be the case. So keeping an eye on those 3 variations of, well, 2 variations of 20 to 25 and 1 variation of 21 to 25, being in February the 1st to February the 5th. Now, last year, on January the 11th, Time Magazine released this cover as part of their magazine. It's Donald Trump, Hair on Fire. We've talked about this magazine already. For those of you who are, maybe watching this for the first time, if you flip the magazine upside down, Donald Trump's head actually becomes a nuclear warhead. The open mouth becomes a symbolic representation of the nuclear sign that would be on the nuclear warhead. I think it would be a bit too obvious to do the exact nuclear sign. Above, you can see the tie becomes a red exclamation mark. The hair on fire becomes the afterburn or the tail of the warhead itself. This is reminiscent of missile re-entry, so this is possibly depicting the missile coming down, and obviously when you're looking at it the right way around, the missile would be heading down, so that may have some indications. Down at the bottom here, where they've kind of drawn the end of the fire here, you can see there's like the silhouettes of people, these larger circles being their heads, and obviously it goes down into the shadows down here, and the points of darkness that extend up here are the arms. So basically it's depicting people I'm guessing flailing, fire, burning, screaming, all that kind of stuff, kind of indicated in this image. And they put the date there, even though it was released January the 11th. The date at the top is January the 22nd, 2018. And obviously, if things are happening around the 20th, 21st, like the blood moon and volcanoes erupting like Mount Etna and Kilauea, and tsunamis may be happening in the Atlantic due to nuclear drones like Poseidon from Russia, it's possible the next day or after that time period there's some sort of nuclear launch. Obviously, I've talked about Hawaii and the forced missile alert and the potential for a missile being used to strike Hawaii, and that could be part of the reason we have the landslide scenario into the ocean. There's a few different theories I'm looking at around how that happens. There's the earthquake theory, there's the missile strike theory, there's also the asteroid theory, which I'm going to get into a little bit more in just a second. I'm just going to close what I don't need so I don't get confused with it all. Okay, so NASA have been accused, as they do, of covering up a potential asteroid impact, and this is something stemming from their own reports, where they published a report on their website saying that there was a low possibility of an asteroid called 2002 N27 hitting the Earth in early 2019. They actually gave a specific date for it hitting the Earth, which would be February the 1st, so that could be a representation of 21. But the NT7 reminds me, if you flip it upside down and look at it in a slightly different way, of the LTN that's on the board here. And the only reason I think that may be another representation, apart from representing possibly London, Tokyo, New York, or the London Transport Network, or NT7, there's quite a few different interpretations there. The other reason I think it might be saying NT7 is because of a earlier reveal I did with this video last year, where I kind of illuminated the images on the board, the ones that are hidden. And over here you can see, this is just separate, but I just wanted to point out anyway for those you haven't seen. It's like a fawn or satyr, like a half goat, half man. You can go on Google and research the mythology. If you've watched The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, you'll know the animal I'm talking about, or the animal human I'm talking about. It's quite detailed. You can see the horns at the top of the head. You can see there's a beard here. The eyes are right there. The arm coming down. The body is goat. The tail is goat. The back legs are goat. And, hanging on to the third love heart. So we talked about this last year, where we know that the love heart is kind of representative of, if we're talking about a month, February, because February is where Valentine's Day comes in. And last year, with that in mind, we had this interpretation from the EVOLTN on the board. And when you break those letters down into their numbers, with like 5, E is the 5th letter of the alphabet, B is the 22nd letter of the alphabet, and so on. And you take those numbers and add up their individual digits in their different sections. So you take 5, 22, 15, and 12, add them together as 5, 2, 2, 1, 5, 1, and 2, and that gives you 18. You've got the letter T here, which is number 20, but there's no other letters along with it, so there's nothing to do with this one apart from take away the 0 because it has no value, and that gives you number 2. And the N, the same thing as the T, except both of these numbers have value, so it's the number 14. And we had 14, 2, 18, which was the 14th of February 2018. We talked last year about there being a potential shooting. My interpretation was it was going to be Donald Trump. We talked about the number 223, which turned out to be a bullet type, and that bullet type is used in the AR-15. And it so turns out on the 14th, and sorry, before I move on, we also talked about the 14th of February being interpreted as the Valentine's Day massacre from history, and we said that they may possibly try and use that again, and whatever happens, they're going to label it as the Valentine's Day massacre. And it just so happens that on the 14th of February 2018 was the Parkland shooting. It wasn't Donald Trump, but it was inside a school, which is where we currently are. We had 17 dead, and we had talked about the number 17 being encoded into the hangman. You can just see like how that would be the number 7 and the number 1 just there, and the connection to death. There was a lot of different connections. It wasn't a bang on solid interpretation, but the day was right, the Valentine's Day massacre was right, the shooting was right, the bullet type and the gun. Well, the bullet type was right, which connected with the AR-15. So there was a lot of things that connected, which kind of gave us a little bit of a boost in terms of continuing to try and decode this video. So February is, important, and there's only 5 days in February I'm looking at, because the year of the dog ends on February the 5th. So there isn't much to look at there, and it does obviously, as I said, break down into 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25, all numbers that are found in this video. The letter F is also found in this video quite a lot, and we talked a lot last year about the letter F representing February. So, as well as keeping an eye on the 20th to the 25th on the Gregorian calendar, and on the Gregorian calendar, and the 20th to the 25th on the lunar calendar, which is the 25th to the 30th on the Gregorian calendar. We've also got the 1st of February to the 5th of February on the Gregorian calendar also. Sorry, just making sure I don't get too mixed up, so I'm just going to close this. Now seen it. Okay, so going back to this, as I just kind of stepped off to the side in terms of February talk, and this possibly representing February the 3rd and the other things. Over here, I pointed this out before. Some of you may see an alien in this image. I've seen it once before, but looking at it again, I can't really see it. I may see it again while I'm watching the video back. But either way, what I see is the planet Earth, and I've drawn the circle in white around where the edge would be. Now, they haven't drawn the edge because they've just kind of left it dark, so it's like it's fading out into the actual chalkboard itself. But if you look where the colours end, and you kind of look how it goes round, it's a circle. It goes behind this heart here, it goes behind the teacher's head just here, and circles round. Now, I'm looking at all the dark parts as kind of like the ocean. It's supposed to be blue, but they've just left it kind of dark, and these more purple parts with the jagged lines and stuff, they're the outlines of the countries. This here, let me get rid of this. Oh, no. Cancel. Save. Sorry guys, should have done this before. Give me a second, hopefully it doesn't take too long. Oh, what happened? Oh, good. Okay, so just here, I've circled it as well, is another image, and I believe that is the image of another body, like an asteroid or something else. You may not believe in space, think of it as heaven, think of it as the firmament. Up there, basically, above us, above the clouds, something coming from above. And the large portion of white that they've drawn is an image of the impact. Now, there's a easier way for me to show you this, because if you just look at a number of images on Google, you'll see this particular image. This is basically what they're showing on the chalkboard. The Earth, the large impact, and the smaller circle impacting the Earth. And that's pretty much what I see when I look at this image here. A larger circle, which is the Earth, a bright white kind of jagged impact crater, if you will, and then the larger body impacting the Earth. So I think they have something like that planned, whether it's real or whether it's an illusion. I've talked about that before. I don't know, but it's one of the things I'm thinking is during the blood moon, or during one of the eclipses. I don't know if it's this eclipse or if it's going to be the one June 21st, 2020. Is it 2020? I think it's 2020. Yeah, June 21st, 2020, when the solar eclipse is occurring. I can't be sure, but I feel like during one of those eclipses, there's going to be this. We're going to be able to see something coming, and it's going to cause mass panic, and all sorts of things are going to be occurring at the same time. And obviously, if that is to occur during the blood moon eclipse, then it's an opportune time. Brexit, government shutdown, lots of other potential events happening, volcanic eruptions and tsunamis. So it could be an opportune time for something like, you know, this to occur. And this is obviously a more detailed. I'll just close this. We'll get to that later. This is a more detailed report, basically about NASA talking about 2002 and 27 and how it was on a low probability impact in 2019, possible impact date of February the 1st, which I also recognize interprets as 2 and 1, 21, which could actually be the 21 coming up during the blood moon between the 20th and the 21st. So that could be just a, you know, clever way of saying 21, making us look at February the 1st when really the 21 we should be looking at is the one coming up with the blood wolf moon. Either way, real or illusion, I don't know, but I'll talk to you guys about them having the ability to use satellites to create the fake illusion of an asteroid impact or asteroid shower, and I just want to show you the video. So I think you get the general idea. That's what they, you know, want to do. Have a satellite up in space or various number of satellites that release pellets, which then fall through the atmosphere, you know, creating that same burning up illusion, making it look like shooting stars and meteors. And obviously, this could be used as like a precursor to them displaying something bigger coming, making it look like it impacts the Earth, nuclear explosions to mimic the impact, and stuff like that. So that's just a couple of ideas I'm having, a concern looking out for something like that during an eclipse, since we have one coming up on the 20th to the 21st of this month. I suggest keeping an eye out for something like that occurring during that eclipse. This is the kind of the last thing I want to talk about, and it's the same asteroid appearance during an eclipse theory. I do think that the apple represents the blood moon as well as other representations. The gold circle would appear to me to represent the sun in that case. So that's why I say I'm not sure if it's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse where we see this kind of thing. The solar eclipse makes more sense to me because you have the whole reference to blocking out the sun and everything like that, which makes a bit more sense, and the asteroid coming from behind the sun would also make more sense, as in NASA trying to explain why they didn't see it coming before. Obviously that's if it's real. If it's not real, then obviously it's just all fake. So you guys, I'll give you both kind of sides of how people may look at it, as in, is it real, is it fake? I can't tell you any of that, because one side, I believe in the Bible, and I know the Bible talks about, you know, things that could be interpreted as modern day asteroids impacting the Earth, but at the same time I know that they're manipulating the Bible, so they may make it look like that's actually happening in order to fool people. Myself and you will just have to use discernment and pray that we are amongst the number of people that will be able to withstand whatever illusions or delusions the Heavenly Father will allow to come on. One of the things that I wanted to point out in connection with the discovery of the 14th of February 2018 through the hangman letters on the board. I've also discovered the date of 21/9/19, which is the 21st of September this year, through the phrase "fool me once," and obviously that's one of the more important phrases. It's one of the only words, or one of the only sentences that I mentioned throughout the video. So it may be that they've chosen that particular phrase because it breaks down to a particular date, which is the 21st of September 2019. I don't need to remind you guys that on the 21st of September was the Revelation 12 sign. It's International Peace Day that day in the sign of Virgo, which is the woman who was clothed with the sun, the moon, and the stars. So it may be a date that should be watched. It's obviously outside of the year of the dog, so I don't believe it's a day of like a 9/11 event or something like that. But I do believe it will be a significant date and something we should watch out for. So you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.